Alright, what is up everybody? Shell Scout 0013 here, coming in with another unit breakdown, this time on the ARC Troopers, the amazing ARC Troopers that are a very high elite class of clones, and knowing the lore a little bit more about them just makes them even better in my opinion. So, if you are interested, all you gotta do is check this out. If you want to go ahead and get into the breakdown, you can look in the description down below for the timestamp. If you're interested in the giveaway, what I'm going to be doing is giving away a Rebels Trooper box for everybody. And there are 3 different ways to enter in to win. The first way is to be a subscriber and to leave a comment. That gets you entered to win and gives you a point, basically. The other way to win is to be a Discord member, and all you got to do is, start a conversation, because I look at the server level and pick someone who has actually been active and just being involved with the Discord. And the other way to get especially extra bonus points is to be a Patreon member. And you don't have to be a paying member to enter in to win, but you do get more entries if you are a paying member. This is really helpful for the giveaways, and it allows you to get the videos early. Now, if you want to head on over to theburnacademy.com for summer, you can subscribe for $15 a month, or about 50 cents a day, to get 3, 4, 5, and 6-day week workout programs, corrective exercise stuff, short 30-minute programs, at-home stuff. There's videos and descriptions of everything. There's coaching videos. There's 120 different recipes. And if you ever have questions, all you have to do is just message me, and I'll be happy to talk to you, happy to help you out and do whatever you need. And you got basically a personal trainer at your fingertips. And lastly, head on over to ComScan. These are a little bit out of order still, but we're trying to work to get more in. But his other tokens that he has are just amazing. These things are high quality, high definition poker chips, and they're heavy duty. They're not these light little chips that you'll see in different places. These things are amazing, and you're going to want to reach into the bag and or put out as many as you can on the table because of how well they look. And yeah, if you're interested, you can head on over to his Etsy with ComScan, basically, right here. Or you can head on over to his Instagram, check him out. Great guy. So, yeah, there you go. All right, let's get into it. So, looking at the ARC Troopers, these guys are special forces. There's 4 in a unit by itself. They all have 1 health, 2 courage. They roll red defense dice. They don't surge at all. They've got 2 different pistols, or 2 different guns, I should say. They've got the DC-15A blaster rifle, which is a range 1 to 3 black, and then they have the hand blasters, which are only range 1 to 2, but a black and a white. They've got combat training, which is a black and white as well. They've got impervious, so when you're defending against an attack pool with pierce, you're going to roll that many additional dice. So if it's pierce 2, you get to roll 2 extra dice. They have scout 2 naturally, which is great, so they can get into position. They've got sharpshooter, which is very helpful nowadays because sharpshooter really helps to get rid of that low profile. Well, not fully, but it helps to at least lower that and or get someone out of heavy cover into lighter cover and get these black dice a little bit more through. And it's great to start a fire support with, because the sharpshooter being able to reduce the cover and then add even more dice to the attack pool is a drug. And then tactical 1, so after you perform a standard move, you can gain an aim token. So you don't have to necessarily just sit there and aim, or if you're in a bad position and need to get to a better position, you can do that and get the aim for free. So the action economy here is outstanding. And even if they get 1 action, I mean, if they're a little bit too far away from the rest of your army, then you can just take a move to get closer to, share tokens, and you get that aim for free. These guys are just really good. And then you can give them a heavy. They have a training. They've got a comms. They got 2 gear slots and then a grenade slot. So if you ever want to put those smoke grenades in there, this is the unit to do it with. Now, they also have a strike team, obviously. You have to have the heavy weapon sniper. Everything else is the exact same. It's just there's 2 of them only. Now, let's take a look at the possible heavy upgrades. You have the DC-15X ARC Trooper, which is just a black and a red. It's immune to deflect, so even if they get to spend the dodge token, which you don't have high velocity sadly on these guys, but they still can't deflect anything back. And it is lethal, so if you spend an aim, you get to pierce 1. It's a range 1 to 5 gun and a red and a black with a sharpshooter, so not too bad. For 31 points, it's a little bit, but not the worst. You have Echo. Master Echo. Really good. He's got 2 health. He's got 2 red at range 5. He's got reliable 1, so he's always going to gain a surge token. He's got critical 1, which is really good, lethal, and immune to deflect. He's also the leader, so if he's in a normal ARC Trooper squad, he's going to be the last one to go and still provide a lot for your team. And then fives. Fives is range 1 to 3, 3 black, and he's also 2 health. Your courage is going to be increased by 1, so the natural 2 courage is going to be natural 3 at this point, which is really good. I like him more in core units to boost the courage value, and he's also got 2 health, and he becomes your leader. And also, he's going to gain coordinated clone trooper, so it's not necessarily a core clone trooper, so it can be arcs, it could be clone commandos now, any one of the core troopers. So it's really, really nice to have. And the other reason I like him in core units is because the generic clone commander directs a clone core unit, which you can then give to fives, and then fives can then bounce an order to whoever, and giving you a little bit better order control. So fives is really, really good. I really like him. And then for training upgrades. So I don't feel like they necessarily need a lot of upgrades. Now I know Kyler has mentioned that he doesn't like any upgrades, and that is fair. That is fine because they really don't need any. But if you wanted to, I don't really think duck and cover is necessary because they don't have low profile. Endurance, I mean, they're courage too, so not necessarily needed either. Hunter, I mean, especially if you're going up against a lot of Wookiees, that would be nice to have. Now, they're not. They might be going after high target and high value units, but majority of the time they might not be multiple wounds. So Hunter is doable, and it's the same price as offensive push. You just have to make the decision yourself. But I mean, I like Hunter. There's a case for it. Into the fray, they don't want to be that close, in my opinion. So I don't think they need that. Offensive push could be, yes, in my opinion, a really, really good one. It's just you'd have to recover to get it back. And then, but using it, if you were to put it to the ARC Troopers, they would have tactical 2. So when they make a move, they're going to gain 2 aim tokens. And as Kyler will point out, you're going to be able to use 1 to reroll and 1 for pierce. And if there's just no way of shooting anything because of, the, what is the condition? Limited visibility, then basically you can maybe move twice, generate 2 aim tokens if you needed to, but obviously you're not going to be shooting with anyone unless you've got maybe clone commandos that have infiltrated in and possibly close to that range too, and you wanted to double move. That could be something, but yeah, mostly just for the first reason of being able to move and gain 2 aim tokens. Overwatch, no, I really don't think so. Protector, well, they don't have Guardian, so that's a no. Situational awareness, I've used on them, and it has helped quite a lot, but that was when I had Anakin and a clone commander, and he had defensive stance, and the clone commander had portable scanners to be able to hand out another dodge. So situational awareness really came in handy a lot more. You don't need tenacity, and up close and personal I feel like is wasted on them because you're only ever going to perform one attack, and yeah, you're going to want those. It's so expensive on them, so I don't necessarily see it as a must. More so like if you want to bring anything, offensive push and situational awareness I think are the best, and Hunter as well. For comms, sure, with long range, so during the command phase you can be issued orders by a friendly commander or operative regardless of range. So there's no point in having any of this right now, in my opinion, because they can do well without an order. I think that if you want to have something on there, it'd probably be emergency transponders or HQ uplink, but HQ uplink is going to be too expensive for them, I think. So if you really do need to fill in points somehow in clones, emergency transponders could be okay. For gear, let's take a look at this. Like I said, ascension cables is never really necessary at this point. And electro binoculars and portable scanners are more for support units, and this is definitely not a support unit. Emergency stems, I think if you're going to put emergency stems on any of the clones, it would have to be probably one of the core units because of the fire support. And the fact that they're not necessarily activating. So it's a weird rule that if you use emergency stems during your next activation, you'll have to take that back. But if you fire support, you're technically not necessarily activating your two activations, so you just stay alive still. And it's a weird rule, but like I said, not necessarily on the ARC Troopers. Environmental gear, I think, is probably one of the better ones that you would want to put on there because then you can ignore difficult terrain. So when you move, you're still moving speed 2 and generating that aim, so you're getting a better shot. Grappling hooks, you know, sure, but you might as well just do the speed 1. Jetpacks, so if jetpacks were cheaper, I would say definitely. But because they're not cheaper, it's really, really tough. So maybe if they were 5 points, I think it would be a good idea. And then prepared supplies, you know, if you have situational awareness and you've got the ability to have tons of dodges already, then sure, maybe. Recon intel, I'd honestly rather put environmental gear on there, but there is a point to have recon intel if you are just really trying to gain those objectives. But again, like I said, I think environmental gear is the better one. And targeting scopes is a really, really good one to have, more so on the full ARC Trooper unit rather than the strike team. Because you're going to be able to, especially if you use them to start a fire support, having the aim and targeting scope to be able to roll one more extra dice is worth it. And I've seen it work plenty of times. So I think targeting scopes and environmental gear are probably the better ones to have. And then for the grenades, you're probably really looking at the smoke grenade as the best grenade option for them. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let Kyler talk about the list that he's given us today, which are freaking awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the Yoda Chewie.
Yeah. So Yoda and Chewbacca is a incredible combo that I just can't put down. And so because of that, I decided that I was going to make something where Yoda and Chewbacca can shine. And one of the best ways that I know how to do that is to pair them with units that are great by themselves. And that is what the ARC Trooper brings. The ARC Trooper can be uh, a very strong damage output. Lethal provides you the ability to pierce through red saves and keeps constant pressure on. And as a fire support platform, they're actually incredibly good because they have sharpshooter, which gives you that extra bit of punching power through heavy cover. If you just talk about range 3 dice pools with traditional fire support, um, the phase ones with the RPS are looking at effectively 5 black dice and a red and a white. And the arcs are going to be looking at an additional 5 black dice and a red. So now you're looking at 10 black dice, 2 red, and a white. That's at range 3. It gets dirtier if your range band becomes 2. If people are trying to push into you, you get an extra 4 more white dice into that pool. I mean, 16 dice attack pools, pretty sweet. Already got sharpshooter. You're going to be doing these fire supports off of Yoda's 3-pip turn, which provides you 2 extra aims. And due to tactical, you're always going to have an aim on your arc to begin with. So at minimum, you have 3 aims going into the 16 dice pool. It's an incredibly effective combo. It can get nastier if you run Padme, but I think Chewbacca brings a lot to the table and is a lot of fun. And so effectively, if anybody has heard of the Yoda Star or however it was called, this is just a kind of a more objective focused version of the list because you're going to bring Chewbacca and it gives you really, really cool things that you can do that you won't be able to do with Padme. Padme is going to provide you an incredibly hard hit. You're pretty much going to nuke something off the board with Padme and having all those extra aims. However, I have found that being able to take Yoda and Chewbacca and play recover the supplies and claim the center box on the first turn and get the box 1 move away from the enemy army, doing things like that is just it almost feels degenerate, right? Hostage exchange, having your hostage just run and do 4 move actions towards your own deployment zone, right? It's like at that point, I mean, even lists with Vader, right? So even if you have a list with with Darth Vader, he's not going to be able to do his combo to Vader's might, the guy back into the other side of the field. It because you got that quadruple move, right? So it's incredibly potent. It's incredibly powerful to be able to do those kinds of things. And I really love the ability to piggyback on top of Chewbacca and get Yoda where he needs to be on crucial turns. So it allows you to constantly use guidance and just instead of having that Yoda be out of position because you use guidance a whole bunch of times, it allows you to piggyback on top of Chewbacca, have Chewbacca use his move actions to get Yoda where he needs to be, drop him off, and then allow him to continue to guide people. And of course, while he's piggybacked on Chewbacca, you get to if you do guidance Chewbacca for a move, he moves a third time. So you can basically do 3 speed 2 moves with Yoda on one turn. So that's a lot of movement.
Yeah. So with that card, Yoda doesn't have to be in line of sight of Chewie. He as long as he's at range 1, right? So if he's like behind a
Yeah,
big,
you teleport through walls, you pick him up, you place him in base contact with Chewbacca. That's right.
and then it says that Yoda can't perform moves after Chewie moves. You can place Yoda in base contact, and then while Yoda's in base contact with Chewie, Chewie gains deflect and all that stuff. So what if someone, um, let's see, so you double or triple move possibly with Chewie, and then he stays in base contact for the rest of the turn, right?
Yeah, so every time Chewbacca moves, you pick up Yoda and you place him back in base contact with Chewbacca. What's important about this is that there a fun interaction there. That what that means is that if Yoda has used burst of speed and has taken on an immobilized token, you can Chewbacca to piggyback the Yoda around with the Chewbacca, even though he has speed 0. When Chewbacca moves, he's picked up and he's placed. So even though he's speed 0, he stays with Chewbacca regardless. It doesn't matter that he has the immobilized token. It's completely ignored because it's picked up and placed every time. And this is an incredibly important combo to do when you're fighting against other Jedi, because having a speed 0 Jedi is incredibly powerful because it means you cannot be force pushed.
Yeah. Um, and then you had a very similar list before. Well, okay, so maybe before that. I see that your ARC troopers are basically like there's no upgrades. And is that either because there's no room usually, or do you just not really like upgrades on them?
Best arcs are cheap arcs, and the cheapest you can go is 97 points. And so I tend to not bring any upgrades on my arcs, and I let them shine through just the abundance of keywords that they have already: impervious, sharpshooter, and lethal, great dice pools, the tactical, just you name it. There's really not a lot that these guys don't do. They have courage too. They're almost always getting both of their actions. It's hard to suppress them down. And of course, as a clone, don't forget the clone trooper keyword, right? Sharing tokens and things. It's an incredibly good unit. And so I find that the best way to run an ARC trooper is minimally upgraded. Either 0 upgrades, as you see in the list that I've given as examples, or at the very most, you might throw something like environmental gear so that they can move over difficult terrain, so that they're always closing those crucial range bands when they need to. They can just move over those difficult terrain. Or perhaps on the small occasion, you might put like situational awareness, especially if you have a dodge token sharer like Padme, and you're giving dodges. Yeah, having situational awareness can be pretty nice. And if you're going for extra aggression, giving them O push so that you can have a tactical 2 can be also really nice, because then you get to re-roll your dice on the attack and also still have the extra aim ready there for lethal without having to rely on sharing. However, I will double down and say that I think our troopers are best run plain, just heavy upgrade and run them as is, because they're so good already. I'd love to use those points in other places in my army.
And what if the jetpack was cheaper? Would you ever run the jetpack on them?
I would run the jetpack at 5 points. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that would be much better than the environmental gear.
Yeah, because that's the way I'd look at it, right? For 3 more points, I get the extra benefits of the jetpack. At eight additional points, it's not worth it.
Um, and then I think recon intel on Chewie. Now, was that for? I'm assuming that was for the objective play, right?
So yeah, there's a lot of combos and things surrounding the Yoda Chewbacca kit. Recon intel is incredibly important because if you have recon intel on Chewbacca, it allows you to if you're looking at the deployments um, on all of the deployments that this list runs, it allows Chewbacca to double move and still make base contact with the center box, except on Long March. However, if you have played Yoda's 2-pip, you can double move and place Yoda in base contact with the center box because it gives you the extra reach, right? Because when you do the place, you get an extra base. Because it doesn't matter where you place Yoda, he just has to be placed in base contact with Chewbacca. So if you draw a straight line, um you should be able to do the scout one, right? Complete straight line, and then pick up Yoda, teleports into base with Chewbacca, and then you can move, and then place, and um, that'll get you the center box as well. Um, so yeah, the scout is very handy for those different layouts. Um, Advanced positions is also pretty cheeky because advanced positions allows you to get that scout 2 on Chewbacca, which can give you some really like if in the event that you are playing on advanced positions and you're able to deploy Chewbacca in the bottom left corner of the, like if you're blue, right? In the bottom left corner of the L, basically the shortest path to the center box. With a scout 2, um you would not be able you would not or excuse me, with a scout 2, you can in the Yoda place, it gives you the distance. So you would basically be able to play the 2-pip, teleport Yoda, guidance the Chewbacca to make one move, and then when you place Yoda, you can actually place Yoda in base contact with the box. So off of a guidance move, and then you can claim with Yoda, and then your very next action can go with Chewbacca now because it gives both an order, right? And then you can double move Yoda, who's already claimed the box, back into your own deployment zone.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So on the second activation, you have the center box in the deployment zone because of the scout 2, right? Because it's scout 2 plus an extra base. That's the important piece that people need to remember is that the placing of the Yoda in base contact with Chewbacca can give you an extra base worth of extension into the towards the center objective. That won't always work, obviously, because of terrain and features and things, right? But Chewbacca is able to move unhindered, which does make it a little so difficult terrain won't be an issue, right? Because he has scale. But as long as you don't have to go like, um, around a building or something, it's possible. Advanced positions, however, don't forget it does include the extra scout 1 on your arcs, and on occasion that has been relevant where I've just basically sent an arc to go scout 3 towards the center box, move claim. So if you're not able to draw a straight line to the center box with Chewbacca, you can go around a lot of obstacles with the arcs because of the scout 3 at the start of the game.
That's yeah. No,
and
that's
then
it.
and then you can play Yoda's 1-pip and just have them double move the box back to this. And so it does the exact same thing. So they go scout 3, move 1, claim, and then you go Yoda 1-pip, and you just go, guidance, right? Which will double move the arcs back. And of course, they're not going to die in one shot, anyways, right? Because arc troopers are impervious and red saving, and they're durable enough. So it's a fantastically devious combo.
Yeah. And then there's two more quick questions. So Boyle, is Boyle there to mostly guardian Chewie or um,
Yeah, Chewbacca is a very easy bounty target. Let's give him some red saves.
okay,
Yeah. You also can stack against particularly big dice pools. You could stack Guardian 3 onto Yoda, right? Protector out some of the crits, and then Boyle can take out some of those hits as well.
nice.
But yes, it's actually there because it makes it that much more annoying to kill your arcs and that much more annoying to kill the Chewbacca.
And then the last question I have is burst of speed versus the force guidance with the surge. So I know that you've got burst of speed on there, and I know that he's got a one pip that allows him to have the speed 3. So why
Mm-hmm.
what do you think, or what is your thinking about putting burst of speed over force guidance, especially when the arc troopers, or you have phase ones that don't generate like phase twos do, a surge token, and Chewbacca doesn't surge naturally to defense either, but he does have
Well,
reliable two.
he has yeah, reliable 2 is usually enough.
Okay.
So the lack of surge tokens is definitely something that is worth considering. But Yoda's 3 pip will give out some surges on the turns where you're doing fire supports, and every other turn you're not really caring, right? Your your Yoda 2 pip turn is generally speaking going to allow a arc to triple. It's going to allow your arcs to double tap, right? So they basically get to fire twice. So you bait on the turns where you're doing the Yoda 2 pip, you're going to be giving them relentless, right? And then of course it gives them situational or excuse me, outmaneuver, right? It gives them outmaneuver and a dodge. Um, that's really potent because with a guidance off of Yoda, that will trigger that relentless, and because they're tactical, they're always getting the aim. So it's pretty good to go move. On that turn, generally speaking, the best play, like especially if you're being aggressive, it allows you to move twice and shoot at range 2, and then you can go with Yoda, and you can basically have them guidance back and then still get another move and shoot and put them back in your army where it's safe. You don't have to do that, get into range 2, but it does allow you the opportunity. And Yoda's burst of speed is there because it is an incredibly aggressive play style that I have. And effectively, this gives me a jack of all trades Yoda. I can stay in the back as a linebacker, guidancing everybody and force barriering every turn, or I can make some really cheeky plays if I've secured that center box and it looks like my opponent has realized that the game is lost if they don't push me. Well, guess what? You have to push into the angry frog, right? And he's going to chop everything up. And burst of speed again makes you force push immune, and that's important, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you've jumped into a unit who's already activated, um, that mobilized token will protect you, and you can't be pushed around. Um, it's I'd have to start a master class for Yoda in order to get into like all the little cheeky plays that you can do with that. Um, but it's really nice to do that. And again, to have the immobilized token and to be engaged with somebody is going to require you to do some tricks with Chewbacca, right? Like have Chewbacca cart you around and drop you off into an engagement. Which, oh, by the way, it's worth noting that when you do the place, you may be placed into base contact with an enemy, and that does put you in melee engagement with them.
With Yoda or
With Chewbacca. I can move Chewbacca and it doesn't matter if I have engaged Chewbacca in the melee or not. I can place Yoda into an engagement. He is not part of Chewbacca's unit, right? So if Chewbacca charges somebody, right? I can choose to place or not place the Yoda into the engagement with that unit off of the place.
I think that was one of the things that I was trying to think of is when we were explaining his two pip is if Chewie engages, Yoda is and Yoda's not in base contact. When he activates, he's not in melee, correct? He can then move into melee or anything like that.
Well, while the two pip turn's going on, um, Yoda cannot make moves. That's regardless of whether or not he's based with Chewbacca or not. The bonuses that Chewbacca gets from being a base with Yoda, those would be lost. If you ever moved Chewbacca into an engagement, he got wrapped up with too many models and you couldn't base Yoda with him again. You would place Yoda as close as possible, but unfortunately, you would not get the benefits of the red dice. Um, there are a lot of forum posts about it. I encourage people to go and look those up if you want to like really get good at Yoda Chewbacca. The Size Matter sometimes has at least a good 6 or 7 posts that I've read. And you definitely want to get your rules right with that. But to keep the focus on the arcs, this combo and this package, the Yoda Chewbacca package, just really is self-sufficient, and that's what makes the arcs so awesome. And it really highlights the arcs because they are doing ARC trooper things, right? They don't need the commander to babysit them. They don't need anybody else to hang out. It's just they're just running around, just clearing off models and being super fast and effective because they can get the tactical always move, aim, shoot basically every single turn, which you don't have to make the choice. Do I aim shoot here or do I move shoot? You don't have to choose. You're doing both because you got tactical.
Yeah, and making our way back to arcs, I know that you had an alternate list that didn't have any of the RPSs that allowed you to upgrade Echo Strike Team into a full arc.
Yep, same list, but just if you really like arcs, well, guess what? It just got more arcs. Echo in a full arc squad is incredibly potent. He's definitely, if you're going to run a strike team, you want Echo because the power of uh the strike team's efficiency with red black sharpshooter one is not nearly as potent as double red black. Or if you're using him as the sniper, a double red pool with sharpshooter is actually pretty consistent versus a red black pool, right? The black die is going to blank half the time, and that half the time is going to be the one hit that goes away to the light cover. And so if you're going to run a strike team, I encourage people to always run it with Echo, unless they have a very good reason to pad a 55-point unit into the list, which, by the way, 55 points is pretty expensive. That's more than a phase one, right? So you're putting a 55-point unit into the list that's probably going to blank 50% of the time throughout the game. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's not worth
So
it.
that's personally why I go with Echo in the strikes. If Even though I love Echo with full arcs, Echo with full, and I think that that's really what the other list is showing, right? It's showing, hey, now I have just full arc, full arc, full arc. You're gonna get hit, and you're gonna get hit hard every single time these guys activate.
Oh yeah. And then we do have an Obi-Wan arc list that you've made.
That's right. So we talked about self-sufficient packages. Well, let's talk about an engine. So this list is an engine list, right? So effectively, every single thing is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So when you look at it as a whole, it's much stronger, right? You have Obi-Wan Kenobi generating decent amount of tokens and sharing those with the army. He's also going to be giving your uh he's also going to be giving away a lot of like free health, I guess is the way that I like to think about it. He's giving your arcs like artificially larger health pools because of the guardian. You can choose to opt to get rid of offensive stance and go protector, and that is an incredibly powerful alternative. And I want to highlight it just because protector allows Sarisu to use guardian on crits, treat the crits as hits, and then therefore you can dodge those. So you don't need situational awareness on Obi-Wan Kenobi to protector Sarisu dodge. Okay. But do note that Sarisu does say a or an, like you only can dodge one. You can't, even though he has Guardian 3, you can only Sarisu dodge one. But that is a very powerful way to play it as well. Or you can just have more dodges on Obi-Wan Kenobi and then you're relying on force barrier to just take those crits out of the pool. And you're just rolling saves on your arcs whenever a straight extra crit kind of comes through. But force barrier plus the abundance of dodges, right? You're going to get 2 from Padme. You're going to get 2 from Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're going to get 1 from Boyle generally every single turn. And so you're going to basically have 5 dodges available for your ARC troopers. They're going to stay around a long time. And anything that does get through is going to be medicked back for the first couple turns. And so it makes those ARC troopers stay around for a very, very long time. And the lead by example is in the list because, in my opinion, I think that the one thing that's the most sad thing in the entire world is when your phase ones get suppressed and they don't get to do the thing that you need them to do at the end of the game because they can't double move onto a point and they can't touch something or whatever. And so lead by example keeps everybody very, very clean and clear of those pesky pesky suppressions that will keep your guys from doing those objectives towards the end of the game. So again, lead by example, it is a bit of a tech. I like it in such a defensive list because again, you're going to be encouraged to be fire supporting a lot. And so don't forget, every time you fire support, you miss your rallies, right? So those phase ones are going to they're probably going to get pretty clogged up. But lead by example plus clearing of suppression at the end of every round, now all of a sudden, these guys are probably going into every single round clean. So if you do need to just go ahead and go, boom, I'm going to activate these guys. Oh, and don't forget, in a pinch, Padme can suck up all the suppression onto herself on those pivotal turns. So this list really doesn't, it feels like a full Courage 2 army, even though you don't have Courage 2 on your core. And that's the play style that it's going for.
Okay. And Boyle is just for extra guardian, I'm assuming.
So there is going to be some games where Obi-Wan needs to become an offensive piece, and you need to make sure those arcs are healthy as possible. So Boyle is there to continue to provide some guardian support for your ARC troopers if in the event Obi-Wan Kenobi ever has to go and charge in there and do Obi-Wan Kenobi things because maybe there's a pesky Maul and he's about to do something bad to your team. Okay, we're bringing out the lightsaber. We're actually making attacks now. Maybe we're going offensive stance instead of defensive stance to really to lay in some damage and some pressure. Cool, we can do it. Generally speaking, I'm not going to say that I don't want to say that it's going to happen frequently. I think that Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be only maybe attacking once or twice in any game, at most, because he's going to line back for your army so well that your opponent is just going to be frustrated and they're going to be like, I just can't get any damage through. And that's what this one's going to do. This is the there's the immovable or the unstoppable force and the immovable object, right? This is the immovable object, right? This is not an Anakin list who is the unstoppable force and punching through with Pierce 3 5 red dice. This is going to be that wall of, gosh, this guy has another dodge. Oh my god, he's got more guardian. Oh, I've actually played games where Obi-Wan has done more damage with Sarizu than he did with his lightsaber by the end. So
yeah, that's Sarisu is really nice because I think it was also like taking away high velocity because of Guardian.
You can Sarizu dodge high velocity pools because you're not the defender. You're guardianing and you're using the Sarizu keyword during that point. Yeah. You don't get you it still prevents you from using Sarizu if Obi-Wan is the target
Right.
of the high velocity pool.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good one, and I like the 2 full arcs being in there to kind of assist, and Boyle in there to just kind of take away more hits.
This list is all about feeding the ARC troopers defensive capabilities so that they can push up and just have barriers and dodges and all those things to just continue to lay in, and of course seize the initiative on Padme to ensure that you always have a fire support when you need it.
Nice. Yeah, I really like it. So I actually have some 501st lists to bring in and try to use a few different leaders as well. I'll use Anakin and Rex, and we've already gone over like a Yoda and Anakin or Obi-Wan. So trying to give you a bunch of different leaders to use with the arcs. And with the 501st, you can bring up to 4 arc teams, or at least arc units or strike teams as well in there. But I've got an Anakin with push and barrier to be able to, hopefully with the barrier, keep a few of those crits off of the arcs and or a few extra hits. Offensive defensive stance to get those extra aims or dodges when they really need it. And then endurance is in there to get off that suppression in case he can't get off an attack or anything else like that he has to accomplish with his like 1 pip if he can't attack. I think what is it? Yeah, the if he's not the
Activate
first.
first.
Yeah, if he's not the first, because maybe you need to go with an arc squad and fire support with the clone troopers. Maybe you need to do that first, or if there's something going on where you just can't get to Anakin, that endurance is really going to help, and especially if he's in more defensive mode with the force barrier and defensive stance, and he's in the back a little bit, being more of a supportive character. That endurance is really going to come in handy. And then the clone commander is there to be able to give fives the order so that the fives can also give whoever he needs, any of the ARC troopers or the strike team in order. That way you have a little bit more order control. And I've got environmental gear on the ARC troopers just in case they need to move a little bit more and not reduce their speed. So that way they can either move back in enough space or move forward with enough space where they can either share tokens a little bit better or just for better maneuverability. And then emergency transponder on the Echo Strike team just in case he doesn't get an order and he wants that extra aim for that lethal, in case you're really looking for an extra surge to crit or in case you really need an extra aim for anything. And then the ATRT is there with the laser cannon mostly for the impact and also as a mobile walking line of sight blocker, just to kind of help you get your phase twos or your arc troopers up a little bit more protected. And yeah, this is hopefully with the synchronized offensive, you're giving it to the ATRT and then maybe to the strike team, and then you're given the direct order to the phase twos. So now all your core has an order, and that's going to happen every single time. As long as the clone commander is alive, the phase twos always have an order, so you don't have to ever worry about your strike teams. And then the lead from the front, it gives it to just one commander. And so if Anakin is suppressed and they do play his flaw card, you can still at least give a dodge to him if the clone commander is within that range 1 of him, or if Anakin's within range 1 of the clone commander, he can get that dodge still. So you still have a way to use his Dimso, or at least keep him alive a little bit more. And then, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the units. You've got 3 full strike or 3 full arc units just to be able to have a little bit more bodies on the field. And then you've got a clone medic there, mostly for the arc troopers. If Anakin is being focused fired, then sure you can use that. But yeah, the clone medic's mostly for the arc troopers, and pretty much everybody except for your commanders have scout. So everyone's getting up a little bit closer, especially the phase twos in case they need to fire support a little bit more.
Yeah, and I really like the clone commander in that combo with fives. I would always suggest for people to consider your fire support giving a token to an arc if it's important, but your command cards should generally take care of most of that. And so feeding the order back to the clone commander makes your pool just 4 special force tokens and an ATRT token. Like in the worst case, like if you played Anakin's 1 pip, you still basically have perfect order control. I mean, you have a 4/5 chance to draw a special forces token and get a fire support on your 1 pip turn. I mean, that's incredible, right? yeah, 1 out of 5 games you're gonna get the ATRT and be a little sad about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's still it's you know what? Hey, and it's kind of okay because honestly, the ATRT is still a great fire support platform, having a red, black, black, but surge to hit. So if you still were trying to go for the fire support, I think that it's still a great way to go. But most of the time, 4/5 of the time, you're going to get that nice, juicy Arc Trooper token, and you're going to get a fire support on your 1 pip turn, and your opponent is going to be like, "Oh man, what am I? But what do I do here?" I just lost an activation, and this guy has an Anakin with, you know, fully online 3 pip, 2 pip, 1 pip. It's pretty nasty.
Oh yeah. And I like the leaders of the 501st as a 3 pip along with Heroes of the Clone Wars because the leaders of the 501st, you're giving it to 3 special forces, so you can give it to the 3 full arcs, and then like I said, your clone commander gives it to 5, so you can then give an order to the strike team, so your entire core and or sorry, yeah, your entire core and your entire special forces have orders that turn. So it's only 2 commanders and an ATRT in the bag. So you're really, you know, getting a good chance of pulling a commander if you need. The Heroes of the Clone Wars, you're giving it to Anakin in 2 units. You can give it to you can probably give it to Anakin, the clone commander, and then the phase twos will get an order, and then the one of the maybe the strike team gets an order, and then you can give it to the ATRT, your last unit. So then the only thing in the bag are your special forces, and yeah, so you've got pretty good order control for the most part with the 501st.
Absolutely. And as a Yoda player, I approve of order control.
Oh yeah. And then last we have a 9 activation Rex list. This one, so I'll go ahead and just read it real quick. You have Rex with aggressive tactics because he's going to pretty much be giving out the orders the entire time. So then you gain more surges. He's got up close and personal because you've got 4 full arc teams. So you don't have strike teams. You've got full units of arcs. So they can generate those aims with any move. You know, your phase twos can generate any kind of aims they want to. So having Captain Rex when he moves, he's also got tactical. So you've got aims ready. That's not the issue. So having a few extra dodges around, especially with Gunslinger, being able to generate 2 different dodges is very helpful. And then you've got his jetpack, so whenever he moves, if there's difficult terrain, he can still gain from tactical because a climb is not going to generate a name for tactical, so that's why I've got the jetpack on there for 5. And then
But
Recon.
a jump is considered a regular move. So because it says perform a move, right? And then you just ignore height, so it's not a climb. So yeah, jetpack's a lot of people mess that up. They climb and they use tactical. No, don't do that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, because a climb is not a move. And then
It is a replacement. You're saying I'm climbing instead of moving.
And then you've got Recon Intel to give the Phase 2 clone troopers an extra Scout 2 so that the mortar can either aim and shoot round 1 rather than having to move and shoot because it's cumbersome, so you're not going to be able to really get a good shot off if they're too far back. This also leaves your clone commander in the back a little bit more for some support. Plus, he's got improvised orders, so on that turn that you do have to play Leaders of the 501st and you've given those orders a lot to the ARC troopers, you can really use the improvised orders when you don't have the best order control. And like I said, you've got 2 just regular phase 2 clone troopers with the mortar only. You've got 3 full ARC trooper units with the DC 15, and then a full ARC trooper unit with Echo, and then a BARC speeder, mostly because that's the kind of points you have left. If
You have to as well.
Right, you have to have a support.
501st, you have to.
If you wanted a naked ATRT, at least the gun is sorry, a black, white, white. It still surges and it's critical 1 and impact 1. So in case you still needed something like a line of sight blocker, it's still not too bad to fire support and mortar into it because then you'd have a critical 2, lots of black and 2 white, and then anything else beside off those 2 surges will surge to hit anyway. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, would you just trade improvised orders if that's what you were taking?
Yes, yes. I would get rid of improvised orders and then just take the naked ATRT. and you have a little
Yeah, I
bit.
agree. I think that's probably the right play because your points are um pretty tight in this list. It looks like.
Yeah, I could probably get rid of up close and personal and improvised orders, giving
Oh,
you.
but up close on Gunslinger. Oh,
Yeah, and it's
I
your
don't want to
only.
get rid of that.
It's really the only way for you to get dodges in this list, unless you take that dodge action. And as we all know, action economy is huge, and so being able to get the 2 for 1 is very, very helpful. And so, yeah, improvised orders is really the only thing that you'd want to get rid of if you needed to. But I like the ATRT. I just have the bark speeder in there for if maybe you had a bombing run, or maybe there's something that you need to get a little bit more ahead to fire support off of. It's a little bit better dice with the rainbow and the extra black dice rather than just a black white white, and it still surges, which is not bad. It's also red dice, which is okay. Obviously, it's not the best reliable. Having full armor, I feel like, is great, and some people are bringing lots of impact, so at least this isn't impact. It's not going to have a lot of impact for it. So no changing to crits.
Impact, no impact.
Yeah, and then take that clankers is also pretty good for the arc troopers. Is range 2 gun. You can give them the order. They just take an aim. They can now increase their range 2 gun to a range 3 and then shoot double the dice at that range instead. With
Yeah, just don't cheat. Tactical doesn't trigger that card.
correct, you have to actually take the aim action, which I was actually experimenting with commandos and the ARC troopers. The commandos with the HQ uplink, they have target 1 already, but if they take the aim, they get 2 aims. You can still token share, and you can increase the range of their range 2 weapon to range 3 with the impact, and then, there's a lot of really good stuff you could do with, take that clankers and commandos. Because,
Yeah, I think take that clankers is probably a better fire support turn, ironically, than your call me captain turn.
oh, yes. Just because you're able to, like, if you're shooting, if you've got a full arc team and you're shooting the four black, 4 white plus, either the 2 red or the extra red and a white, or red and a black, and then you have the phase twos fire support, especially if they're in range of everybody, you get critical 1. I haven't even done the math on all the
Six
dice.
more black, yeah.
Yeah, so six plus,
So it's
the
11 black, a red, and 4 white. 15 dice pool.
jeez, critical 1, sharpshooter, and lethal. So you can do quite a lot of damage with 4 arc teams and some clone trooper fire support.
And you can do it twice because you could just use your clone commanders to give an order to one of your phase twos, and then you give one order to an arc in a phase two. You still have majority of phase or special forces tokens, so you can guarantee the first fire support, which lays in that 15 dice pool, and then you could just go with the next one, right? Go from the bag, and you have basically a 3 out of 5 chance to draw another special forces token. Um, yeah,
Yeah, because as
yeah,
long
that's
as
a
the
that's a powerful turn.
yes, yeah, as long as that friendly clone trooper has a face up order token and it performs the aim, you can increase it. So, and then you're only giving it 2. Maybe if there was a way to, maybe you got rid of up close and personal and improvised orders, and you put an HQ uplink on one of the arc troopers, then you could really improve the amount of stuff that you do on that turn, and even giving the clone commander the direct to one of the phase twos, you already have a free order there. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you could do. I'm sure you could probably downgrade one of the arc trooper units to a strike team, maybe put fives in there instead of a mortar if you could, and then you'd have quite a few more units that can fire support, and then you're given the extra 2 orders to the 2 arc troopers, and yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff you could do.
Yeah, I definitely like this one from the perspective of it's just got a lot of guns, and sometimes people just want to just roll more shots. and this has got that really gunline profile that just I don't know, it kind of speaks to me in a lot of ways. It sometimes you don't want to like nickel and dime and do 20,000 measurements to make sure that you can get into a melee with something that's at the right distance and stuff. And sometimes it's just about, yep, you're in range 3. All right, here comes. You just unload all your shots.
Yeah.
So I like these lists.
And just in case, if you got rid of up close and personal to give him a like offensive push, he does have a card that'll give him a free recover, so he can have tactical 2, move twice, especially if nothing is ever going to be in range, giving you 4 aims for that one turn. And then with the extra 2 points, you could just give the clone commander recon intel, so then your entire army is out of the deployment zone.
Yeah, an interesting thing here is there might be a world where you don't use clone Captain Rex to really go for the call me captain. And if you generated a bunch of those aims, you're just saying, hey, I'm gonna share all these aims with all my guys. Right. You know, like from offensive push, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because tactical too, you just say, yeah, I'm gonna move twice, move, boom. And he's safe behind a box, but he's in range 1, and he just goes every one of my activations is stealing one of these aims over and over and over, and he's just an aim battery. Because I mean, his gun's range 2, right? There are going to be
Right.
plenty of games where you just can't get into range 2 and do his thing, and so maybe that gives you an alternative play style. Because I think with so many games, people just get so caught up in the like, I have to get this combo, I have to do this thing, I have to call me captain, but they get like one fire support and then Captain Rex died. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and because he was super close and one dodge isn't going to do it, you know, or he gets chopped up by a Jedi because he's not impervious. Because I don't know why. No one knows. No one has any idea why he's not impervious. His ARC trooper buddies that he leads are impervious, but he's not.
We're going to hope for that change ASAP because that actually would help
Yeah,
make him a little bit more viable, I feel like.
so much. It would change so much. But yeah, so no, but don't get me wrong. I don't, and you know what? I'm in the camp that says Clone Captain Rex should get impervious and not go up in points. I think that he's fine where he's at in points if you just gave him impervious.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people want to see him drop in points. I don't. I want to see him get better keywords.
It,
Um, so that's
that's
where I'm at. But I still think, despite all that, this list has got a lot of legs.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would like to see more things on the cards for the price they're at rather than decrease the price um, on especially a
We
few
don't need
units.
we don't need every army to become a horde army because they don't have enough keywords, right? Like rebels have been asking for more keywords, not more rebel units. I don't want more guys to die to chaff fire. I want my guys to do cooler things.
Yes.
Anyway, that's a whole another video.
Hopefully, hopefully with mini extravaganza coming up, we'll get a few good announcements on some things.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to see. I'm hoping that there's going to be a few changes, but we'll see for sure. But yeah, that's really it. Did you have any extra things to add?
Uh, just if you are gonna play experiment with the ARC troopers and you're gonna be making a bunch of lists, I will always suggest to people to put max out your special force tokens. Um, so yeah, however you have to get that done because you need to make sure you maintain order control because ARC troopers are very dependent on getting those going when you need them to go because the worst thing to ever happen when you're playing an ARC trooper list is that your ARC troopers don't get to go when you need them to go, and then your opponent has built up too much defense, and then your big shots just get whiffed away with a bunch of dodges or things like that. So order controls are very important. So look to your clone commanders or your Yodas or your various tools. Your seize the initiatives like on Padme, right? To feed orders to make sure that you keep your order pool clean, and that's really the thing that all of these lists are doing very well. And I think something that really makes ARC troopers shine. when I have talked to some people and they've said, no, arcs are okay. And it's like every time I look at their list, I'm like, you have zero order control. And that's why.
Okay. Well, that's good to note because, yeah, I feel like they're such a great unit. They have a lot of good keywords, like you were saying earlier. It's just utilizing them to make sure that they're efficient and not just there as a special forces.
Yeah, you want the 96 points to go when the 97 points. You want those 97-point units to go when they are going to get the full value of that unit. And the worst thing in the world is going to be waiting for 5 activations later, and now you don't get the range 2 fire support or the range 3 fire support. And now you're looking at range 4 fire support when you're only adding 2 more black dice to a pool, or those are the little inefficiencies. So going at the right time is crucial to making these expensive models give you their full value.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for joining, man. I really appreciate your input, and those lists were awesome. Like, I'm always trying to learn Yoda stuff, and the Yoda arcs that you've played before is always so enticing to play and very strong.
Yeah, and if anybody's ever wanting to get some tips, pop into your Discord. I'm always kind of hanging out, and I'm happy to educate and to teach people some new little ways to make the angry frog become even more of a menace.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining, and I really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.